You're listening to the Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Last Call, where Kevin, Wendy, and Brent talk about anything and everything that couldn't quite squeeze into the regular show. Today we talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, Orphan Black, Geeks Who Drink, Felicia Day, Sense8, Continuum, Defiance, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, Game of Thrones, The X-Files, Arrow, and Supernatural.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Let's start with Brent.
Yeah, I got a few things. One, I want to send you to a link to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cast. They're at the Marvel booth at San Diego Comic-Con. And it's a really funny thing because they've got this small booth. Marvel didn't have a big presence at Comic-Con this year. They didn't have a big stage with a lot of panels and things, but they did have some presence, and they had a booth that they were live streaming, and of course the entire cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. plus some of the crew members joined in. And at one point they were commenting on how the booth, which is a raised platform, was not rated to have that many people on it, but they risk it anyway. And there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of joking around and a lot of good questions that were asked as well of different members of the cast. So I found it very enjoyable, and here's a link to the video if you want to watch it yourself.
Yeah, this is one that's in my long list of San Diego Comic-Con ones to catch up completely. I just skimmed a little and said, oh yeah, this goes to the save list.
Yeah, I haven't seen this. I've only seen little bits and pieces of it because I do want to watch the whole thing, but lots of fun. I mean, Marvel did have a big movie panel, right? They had the X-Men plus Deadpool and all that, but just no TV one.
Yeah, they apparently weren't as... I've been hearing from a lot of people. I didn't attend, and I didn't see as much video as I've seen before, but I'm hearing from people who said Marvel didn't really... Their words were, Marvel didn't go to Comic-Con, which I'm like scratching my head. I know they went to Comic-Con. I've seen their videos, but apparently not as big as, say, DC did, because everybody says DC owned Comic-Con. That's what they're saying. I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't heard anything like that.
Very interesting. Related to this, when I shared this link, Kevin pointed out that Haley Atwell had been using something called the Dub Smash lip syncing app. And making these little videos with people and posting them on her Instagram, which I have a link to here as well. And apparently the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cast decided they were going to one-up her and did their own dub smash with the cast from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And it ended with a great scene with Clark Gregg dressed as Peggy Carter at the end, which was hilarious. But we have the links to Haley's Instagram site, which has all of her Dub Smash stuff, as well as an article that features both the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. one and hers, and talks about their little rivalry going on.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun during Comic-Con. I mean, these little things, what are these snippets, 10, 15 seconds tops, and seeing them play out over a couple of days, and who was going to do better than who, and who was going to one-up. I mean, come on, I mean, we'd love to have been there ourselves and think about, a lot of us geeks doing this kind of stuff. So to see the celebs doing it and doing it very well was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, this was funny because it's like, actors like to be in front of the camera at all times and performing. I like some of the song choices. It was fun. But I got to say, the one where Captain America sweeps in, I'm a big Captain America Agent Carter fan, so that was the one that definitely stuck out in my mind. And I probably watched more than once.
Yeah, and I love the sign that the Jarvis actor's holding up the end. Nobody puts Jarvis in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, they had the Dirty Dancing song to go with it. So, yeah, again, creativity-wise, got to give them a big thumbs up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and another link here, talking about San Diego Comic-Con again, to the top 5 Orphan Black Comic-Con panel moments. And I recently had a chance to watch the entire panel. It was released by BBC America. And it was very enjoyable. So this little highlight, if you don't have time to watch the whole panel, which you can also find up on their channel, this one, which is just a few minutes long, is probably worth checking out.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it that way too. I mean, again, I'd love to watch full panels for a lot of these shows that we love, but there's just, and I take this as a great thing. In today's day and age, there's just way too much time to be able to do all of it. So it was nice to get the Cliff Notes idea.
Yeah, I do appreciate all these sort of best of things, because then once I watch those, then I decide, okay, I'm all in. I'm going to watch the full panel, which this one I definitely want to go back and at least listen to, if not be able to watch with undivided attention the whole panel.
It was fun. All right. Also, a link to the new Zach Levi show, Geeks Who Drink, on SciFi. That's a link to the actual SciFi site. I did check it out, first episode, and I was pleasantly surprised. This could be a very awkward show. Somebody I really enjoy is Craig Ferguson, and he started a show, not exactly the same kind of show, but similar in that he has, brings in B-list celebrities with quote unquote regular people, and they have a little competition. And that show always makes me cringe. I don't know why. I love Craig, but it didn't work for me, so I stopped watching that one. But this one, I never cringed, even though it's about geeks, it's about geek culture, it's about science fiction, fantasy genre. It still didn't make me cringe. It was very fun and enjoyable, so I'd recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, as these type of shows go, it was, as you said, that was kind of fun. I mean, it's a geek trivia show. They make it like it's a geek drinking trivia show, but it's kind of just the trappings of it. So just know that going in, folks. It's not like they're going to make them sit there taking shots at tequila for getting an answer wrong. So, but still, it was fun hearing some of the questions, trying to answer them myself and all that. And Zach is a fun host. So yeah, this has got a chance to be a nice little fun diversion every week.
Yeah, I didn't quite see the very beginning of it, but I caught like the last 2/3, and it was a lot of fun. I think Zachary Levy, I think hosting Nerd HQ has made him very comfortable being a host. So I thought he did a really good job at putting everyone else at ease. It's definitely got a wacky fun factor to it. Also, I have watched that Craig Ferguson show, and I think some of it is people just aren't comfortable sort of being teamed up with each other. Maybe they give them a little bit more time in the green room getting to know each other. I didn't see how they picked the people who were the normal people guests, because I missed the very beginning. But I also like that that the drinking had to be earned, and how they had to get to a tie, or they had to pass 100 points or something, and then everybody got to do a shot. So I liked how they worked that into the story without, as you said, Kevin, it doesn't turn into a the penalty is getting blottoed kind of thing.
I like how they're tying into as well the concept of drinking games, which we all have created for different shows, and also that Zach is not drinking alcohol, because the way they film these shows, they film them in blocks. There's no way he could read these questions and know what is going on if he was drinking that much.
Yeah.
I mean, the audience members are maybe, but I don't think people in the cast.
Yeah, and hey, that audience looked like they just came off the CW lot. So they're definitely screening people to get on that show.
That's right. All right. And the other thing I wanted to link you to is Felicia Day is bringing back her vlog, spelled with a V. It's as fun as always. She's really promoting her new book, which looks interesting. I think I actually have pre-ordered it. If I'm not, I should pre-order it as well. But she has as usual, she has a segment where she goes off and does something in the quote unquote real world, some skill or something. In this case, though, she's going off and doing one of those escape from a room sort of things, which is kind of a fad now. I've heard a lot of people talking about that. Where you pay to be put into a room with people and you're locked in and there's clues and you have to figure out how to get out before the timer expires. Otherwise, you lose the game. But if you get out, you win. You have this sense of joy. And she does this with Zach Levi, who we just talked about, as well as Seth Green and Seth's wife. The four of them go in, and it's really fun to watch. I just was smiling the whole time at how crazy and funny they were running around trying to figure all this stuff out. And Zach actually digging his hand through a disgusting toilet filled with who knows what. Obviously, it wasn't going to be harmful, but it was disgusting. And he had to reach through and find some battery that was wrapped up in and tied up in a condom. And he's like, I never thought I would do that, but he did it.
Yeah, it's great to have Felicia stuff like this back. I watched the first couple of minutes. I didn't get a chance to watch them do the whole room thing because I want to, again, have a full time to do it. I think that this video was maybe 17, 18 minutes worth, so it looks like some more fun stuff.
Very cool. I haven't seen this yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
All right, and the last thing I wanted to talk about was the episode of Sense8 that we reviewed this week, which to my mind was one of the best ones because, and I'm not going to go to great detail, but this was the episode where Sun actually, the one in Korea, actually decides, well, she decided last episode that she was going to essentially fall on her sword to cover her brother's misdoings with the company business and shaming the family to save the family's honor and to protect her father. And she decides to admit to doing the financial crime, which she didn't do. And this is the episode where she goes to jail. She stands on trial and she goes to jail. And there's these great scenes where she's communicating with Riley, who is one of my probably my favorite character, Tuppence Middleton, who plays the DJ Riley, who's hanging out in London, but she's from Iceland. And there's a great scenes where she and Son are talking together. But what really got me going, of course, is I am a huge Riley Will shipper. These are two of the people in the Sense8 who have this real strong romantic connection. And they meet virtually, not in the real world. They meet how these Sense8 people do by seeing each other in their place, and they can flip between the two. And she sees Chicago and this bar that he's in, and he sees London and this empty pub that she's in, because it's much later. In fact, at one point when she says she has to go to bed, go to sleep, and he says, yeah, it must be really late there. And she says, DJ hours, but they do this great thing where they aren't sure it's real. But he says, well, here, give me your phone. And he actually is able to touch her phone. And we know from seeing this from not their perspectives, but a third person perspective, I guess, that whenever there's interaction with events, it's actually the person who's really there doing it. So even though we see him grabbing the phone and punching in numbers, it's really her punching in the numbers, but he's kind of controlling her, doing it. But he punches in his phone and she calls and his phone starts to ring and he says, hang on a minute, because he wants to know if it's real too. It's not all in his head. So he gives the phone to another guy at the bar and asks him to talk to her. And he's talking to her and she's talking back. And he says, some girl with a weird accent. And she says, weird accent. And they have this back and forth where they're talking to each other on the phone. And you can actually hear them talking to each other next to each other. And the slight delay coming through the phone, too. And they're like, oh, that's weird. But they realize that it's real, that they are really there and that this connection is real. And he shares a bit of information that he's learned about the Sense8, about how there's 8 of them and so forth with her. And I just love those two. And we also get the other couple, which is the Indian woman whose name is escaping me right now, and I think German guy who's kind of a gangster, a criminal guy. They have kind of a shippy sort of thing going too, which I kind of dig. But she was about to marry somebody she didn't love, and he showed up only to her. At the wedding, completely naked because he just stepped out of a pool where he had been swimming naked, and he just tells her, what are you doing? You don't love him, and she just passes out at her wedding, and they have this scene in this episode where they are in each other's bedroom and talking about that. So really cool stuff. I really enjoyed this episode, and of course the Nomi stuff is always fun, and you get Nomi hanging out with Freema Aggerman's character. Amanita and I dig their relationship too. It's pretty cool.
I am looking forward to eventually getting caught up.
Yeah, I mentioned in the main show that I've heard enough positive feedback about this show that I'm probably going to do a little mainline sometime soon.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. Like I said, in the main show, you gotta sift through the very slow plotting character development stuff in the beginning, but it's worth it, I think.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it.
That's it for me.
Okay, Kevin, what you got?
Well, I want to talk about our Continuum episode on our rewatch this week. We are up to episode 12 of season 3, folks. Only one more left before we hit the show come the fall, hopefully. This is the episode entitled The Dying Minutes. And I know we're getting near the end of the season, certainly of season 3. When I look at the length of my notes and realize I basically wrote down every single scene in my notes, I just get so hungry to talk about Continuum and all the stuff that's happening. So I do not want to regurgitate that, but that's when I want to make sure I don't miss a moment. But we get some huge stuff here, obviously, if you've been watching along. That's kind of happening. I like that we get a little bit of the flashback here, seeing how they revived Curtis Chen, kind of our bad guy who's been thorn in the side of many people, certainly Kira, for a while. And we see how after he had been killed quite a while back, how they had revived him. And we're starting to see a little bit of the behind the scenes, if you will, behind the curtain for the freelancers. And he's naturally all freaked out and, being brought back to life. And after being told it was several months, I'm sure has its repercussions. But I like that we got to see that a bit. We see Catherine, talking to him a little bit about what's going on here. We get some other great stuff with Catherine later on. We get the name, I'm not sure if we heard it before, for the hooded person as the traveler that's in that locked room. More references to who that is or what that might be keeps getting made here. So that's very fascinating stuff. I mean, back in the Pyron side of things here, we've got the fact that, things are not going well with the whole Halo thing. This is a great opportunity for Sonya to use Julian to try to get at him to, hey, you want to, screw your brother? Here you go. Get me some info. Try to help me out. So there was the whole plot line working here where Julian's grabbing some documents and info to get some info to Sonya so she can get Lucas to work and set up some ability to hack those. And literally, very fascinating when he talks about how he's able to do something to create just major, I think, what was it, anxiety or fear or both or something along those lines. And she's not sure if it'll be impactful enough. But when he hits the enter button and she has it happen to her, in just a couple of seconds, you realize how powerful this thing could be. So that was kind of interesting to see that kind of development. I thought that was going to move. We're going to have a lot of movement on that idea of using this. We've got the whole thing with Kira and Brad kind of teaming up. I mean, Kira's trying to tell the freelancers she's going to bring Brad in exchange for getting the other Alec out now that she's felt she made the wrong decision on the Alex. So I liked her trying to play a little negotiation game in terms of what that's going to mean. And at the same time, we kind of are starting to wonder how they're going to use that and what she's going to do while we still have Sonya figuring out what she's doing. And then we see some stuff that I got to say the first time around kind of shifted the gears for me, because Travis is the one who kind of goes to her to say, hey, we can, now that we've realized, our whole big master plan isn't going to really do anything, let's just take off, go live in a cabin, just let everything happen without us, very much the ship side of things after the relationship they'd had. But we can tell because Sonya's just like, yeah, okay, maybe I'll meet you, whatever. And we know she's got something up, which we saw eventually was the situation where she got herself caught after going into Pyron to try to plant something in the server room. Too easily caught. You knew that wasn't going to be good. Dylan's been pushing everything. So once she was in the room for the interrogations, she was just way too kicked back and relaxed. Kira's in there trying to, help with it. And Sonya basically tells her, you just don't want to be here, without actually saying that. And Dylan, naturally, since he really wants to push all this, tells Kira to leave. And we see that Sonya's got some future tech explosives, and she actually becomes the suicide bomber and takes her and Dylan out. So that was pretty impactful that first time around, and just so big in terms of what it meant. But that's just part of what's really happening, because at the point when Kira goes back to freelancers with Brad, it's them, as Butch and Sundance kind of, how they're going to work a way to try to get in there. And that made for some great fight scenes. She's appearing to have him cuffed to bring him in, meeting some of the lower level freelancers near the door, and they're able to, pull the ruse on them to take them out. Now, part of what we also kind of had happening was Brad wanting to get at the, quote, device that was taken, that was from the safe deposit box that's in there once they get in. He goes in his direction. Kira's kind of wondering why he's doing his thing, but it's because he wanted to get this thing, which was a really powerful weapon, because when they have the big showdown with all of them, he actually ends up using that when Kira can't get away with Alec, the other version of Alec, to kill the freelancers. Or we assume kill. I mean, I don't know, blowing a big hole in them. I'm not sure if they could have come back when we saw this. But I love the interactions of the other Alec. He's obviously very upset with her. Kira's trying to apologize. They take him out, get him out of there. I love the little touch of the conversation in the car when it's Brad and Kira and Alec, when he realizes that, hey, none of us are from this timeline. Again, you forget how much time travel-y stuff was still going on, but the fact they took him to that second rendezvous point where Emily could get together with him, and you can obviously see Brad and Kira are getting much more comfortable together and coming to terms with him telling her that he had been sent here to kill her. Or excuse me, he was here coming after Alec, and she just ended up being in the lab. So I love the very fast moving towards the middle, and then very laid back as we spend some time at the cabin trying to figure who's going to do what and how that's going to go on. And our current Alec is now aware that the other Alec is out there. So I thought they set that up pretty damn good.
Yeah, there was a great setup at the very end when Kellogg comes in with the picture and is like, yeah, that girl, she's always disappointing us. The thing that was interesting for me on the rewatch, because I very much was focused on all the Brad Kira stuff and Alec more than some of the other characters, was the stuff with Sonya. And I'm starting to wonder if, what she told Julian about, yeah, you did kill a whole bunch of people, but thousands, but to me, you were a leader. And if that's going to plant some seeds, if he's going to be instrumental in fixing the timeline, that we know is coming, I'm also wondering about the Traveler ability. My guess is it was the Traveler that raised Curtis from the dead or revived him or whatever he did. And I'm wondering if they're going to try that to alter events in the future, upcoming stuff that's coming, because they don't usually show us things that they aren't going to use again. But for me, the highlights of this were the Brad Kira stuff. And then when Kira is talking to Alex, when she breaks him out of the freelancers, and I thought it was really well played by Rachel Nichols, where, Alex is like, you left me in this hole. And she's like, look, you're not innocent. You have been jerking me around, ever since even before I came here, you're the reason I'm here. And, I've lost my family because of you. And, I had my chance to go back and you took it away from me. That was all you. And I thought that was really well played for them. And it was such an interesting contrast of how they're sort of, patching up their connection when by the end of the episode, the other Alec is, completely opposite to her, in opposition. I totally agreed that, Brad and Kara seem pretty cozy to me. And getting cozier. And also, I did really like that whole thing with Travis. You see a different side of Travis when in the prior episode, he's like, this whole mission concept is flawed. And he is rethinking his life. And he's like, let's just go, let's just get this, have a real life. Let's start something completely different. And, Sonia is the one who is committed to the Kagami vision and carrying it through. And I have respect for her for doing that, but it was sad that she felt like she had to do that. So lots of good stuff that they're setting up going into this finale. And then the whole thing with Caroline, who's running the freelancers, is off the table now. And what's Curtis going to do? What's that 1,000-year-old traveler going to do? So lots of interesting stuff.
Yeah, I felt really bad for Travis at the end when he realized that Sonia wasn't coming and probably put two and two together and figured out she's probably dead. Pretty bad stuff. This episode was so great because there's so many great scenes in this episode. And Kevin, you kind of hit on one I love, though, where Brad and Kira go their separate way. And I love Brad's comment. It's like we're already married, when they have their disagreement about where they're going and didn't share beforehand. One minor correction, though, he didn't recover the weapon. He already had the weapon. He recovered the beacon that they used in the final episode. The weapon that he blew the hole in them with was the same weapon that they had in the previous episode that Lucas shot at the wall.
Yeah, I remember Lucas.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, no biggie. The battle that they did in the little hallway was just awesome. I just to this day I always look forward to the bit where they're fighting, they're almost hand to hand, and Kira's got the one person who has the gun and starts shooting her at point blank range, and her suit is taking it. I just love that. Just awesome stuff. Great battle there. And at the end, of course, and I'm going to get the names right. Curtis comes along and uses the knives and kills Catherine. Yeah, I just thought that was so well done, because at the end you're thinking, all right, well, Kira's off with Brad. Catherine's got a decimated crew, but she's still kicking. And then, nope, she's not kicking anymore. So that was some pretty good stuff too. The scene in the car, you mentioned it, you called it out, where Kevin, where Alec is saying, so none of us in this car from this time. That was a great scene, and I love the exchange between Brad and Kira, where Kira says, "Well, he killed other me, and we get along." And then I love Alex asked a question to him, which is, why'd you stop with one? And he kind of says, I felt bad about the first, and they give that look to each other, which is just the most twisted romantic relationship that you can imagine between these two. But it works. And Wendy, you're absolutely right. And Kevin hinted this too. But they are so very intimate, even at the end. I mean, even when Brad is putting the blanket around her when she first arrives, there's a definite intimacy there, and holding hands and everything that they do. So, I tend to agree with you, Wendy. I think that they have been lovers for a while, as a couple of episodes at least. I don't know how long that is in the real world and time, but Sonia blowing herself up, yeah. at least the explosives that she had in her that she slapped together, at least they brought that out in the show. It was like season 1 or 2, I can't remember, where they talked about that. And I did love seeing how they brought Curtis back, because I think it was season 2 when they had the whole bit about his body being stolen from the morgue. And then in this one, we pick up from there, and we actually see the theft and then where they take the body. So I thought that was pretty cool. Man, they're just setting up for a lot of cool stuff. The photo at the end that Kellogg shows, I've talked about this before. I talked about this when we first talked about this episode when it first aired. That, I don't know if it was an oversight by the continuity team on the show or if it was intentional, but that photo cannot be a photo of what just happened with Kira and Alec, because they were never in the front seat of that car together. And in this one, they're in the front seat and nobody else is in the car, and that never happened from what we saw from the way this episode played out. Alec was in the back seat, and then Kira left the car, and Brad and Alec continued on. So either Kellogg grabbed an old photo just to make his point, or the continuity folks just messed up and they just grabbed a photo of the two of them in the car and used it. So that just kind of stuck out at me when I watched it, because this show is usually so good at continuity.
Yeah, that might just been an easy way to remind us. We knew it happened, and they kind of, like you said, cheated a little for the sake of making it look like a traffic cam would get.
Yeah, I mean, it was my assumption it was real and it wasn't Kellogg faking it, but you could also just as easily believe that Kellogg would do something like that to push other Alec's paranoia buttons.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little sad we only have one more episode, but
it's a good one.
It's a really good one again, but
one.
And then we've got our final 6 coming, at least to Canada in the fall. No word yet from SciFi. The other item for me to mention this week, as Brent mentioned just before we hit record on this part of things, looking at the notes, we have to have an entry somewhere for Kevin's on another podcast, and we do. This time working at the DragonCon prep coming up, there's an excellent set of podcasts done every year called the 50 Days of DragonCon. John and Lee host those, where they interview several of the track directors and other folks from the convention about what's coming up this year, events, panels, things that are different, and so forth. And they were kind enough to invite me on to discuss the DragonCon Newbies events that I lead and the Newbies group that I run. So if you are someone who's considering coming to DragonCon and you're fairly new, this set of podcasts is very helpful. Want to hear a little more about the Newbies group, by all means, follow the link for that direct episode. But I do highly recommend these series of podcasts they do, obviously based on the name, on the last 50 days leading up to con.
Yeah, these are a lot of fun. I've listened to some when some of the other track directors were talking about their preparations in past years. And there's also a really good Newbies Facebook page. So if folks are coming and have questions, you can just head on over there and post them or read what's there. It's very useful.
I think I'm going to modify our intro. Tuning into SciFi TV with the Kevin Batchelder.
Oh, goodness. On that note, I will close out and say that's it for me.
Okay. Just want to talk about Defiance, the episode 7, The Beauty of Our Weapons, which is the one where Ian Ziering miraculously shows up from Sharknado filming and drops by with some weapons. Maybe I just don't have a very good memory, but I don't remember that character ever being in this story. He's also an old flame of Berlin and seems to be encouraging her to go west with him instead of sticking around for the impending battle for Defiance that's coming. But he brings a lot of weapons, which is good news because they're out, and the town is busily trying to arm everybody that they can. Of course, there's some tension because, Arissa, who's supposed to be the most amazing fighter ever, doesn't seem to be in the game. A really well-played scene by the actress who plays Arissa when she has a little meltdown out on the practice target range where she sees a vision of Tommy and her shooting him again, and sort of cracks. So there was some good Arissa Nolan stuff around that. Daytak gets convicted. I had been wondering how the trial and stuff was going to go, but he's very quickly convicted and requests that he get some old school torture as part of his punishment, because that's the only thing that will actually help his soul in the afterlife. We don't know whether he's dead or not, though. By the end of the episode, his torture has started, where every member of their clan puts a gigantic rock in a basket, and eventually he'll be ripped apart. The last one we see is Alak doing it with his son Luke, and talking about how, he was a flawed man, but he also had some good qualities as well. So that was interesting. It felt flat to me, though, so I'm assuming he isn't just dead because we didn't actually see him die. I'm assuming it's going to be interrupted because by the end of the episode, the folks who've been tunneling under Defiance seem to be breaking through. And we also had Stama in weird captivity with the Omecs. Omek dad is patching her up. Omek daughter is trying to kill her or torture her. And she gives her, I don't even know what it is. It's a bead that turns into some technology that I don't know why you would want to give Stama a vision of all these ships that are in orbit and show them to her or somehow connect her to what's going on. But that's what the daughter did. So maybe somebody has a theory for why she did that. But there was a lot of good stuff in this episode that did feel like some setup, but some good character moments as well.
Yeah, a lot of good character moments. I actually kind of dig Berlin and her ex-boyfriend, arms dealer. The chemistry seems to work. I kind of like that pairing, and I've always liked Berlin as a character. So I think the actor does a great job, and I kind of felt for them. And when she had a little bit of happiness, I was actually kind of pleased that she had a little bit of happiness, and her deciding to leave at the end, even though she was hesitating after Nolan's speech, I thought was played very well. Arissa, great stuff. Yeah, the breakdown was wonderfully played. I love her new battle outfit. That was pretty cool. She's all grown up with a really, really cool outfit that she wears now. And I also love the scene where Amanda's walking her away and Nolan's giving that speech. And I love the things he's saying about his daughter and how, she's shaken, but she's the most powerful, person he knows. Saved his life so many times. She's so brave, and he knows at the end when the battle is happening that she's going to be standing with them. And you could see Arissa kind of breaking down, hearing this, and actually wanting to go back. And Amanda telling her, "No, we need to go somewhere else." So that was really well played stuff. I just love that relationship between those two, and I love before that when he tries to convince her to go out, and she asks the question, are you ever afraid? And he says yes, and are you afraid now? And yes, and terrified, and all that stuff. She goes to embrace him and tells him how much she loves him. I thought that was a great scene as well too. Yeah, Daytak is not dead, and he's not going to die. It's pretty clear that he asked for this very slow way to die because he knew the Votanus Collective was on its way. And he thought that either he knew that was happening, or he's just the kind of guy who always wants to put off and delay and look for opportunities. And he's going to luck out. The Votanus Collective attacking is going to happen before he actually dies, and he is going to be freed probably. He'll be hurt quite a bit, but I think he will survive, which is not necessarily a good or bad thing. Like I said, I think on a previous podcast, I could see his character die. I can see any character at this point, almost any character dying. Considering what they did at the beginning of the season. But I could also see him living because he's just that kind of character. He's kind of a scrappy survivor. He always figures out a way. So that wouldn't shock me. The little speech that Alec gave to his son was kind of touching. And part of me was also, when he was giving that, was, yeah, you're saying that, but I don't think Daytak's going to die. So it was nice for you to say that, but I don't think it's really last words to your son as your father is being executed, sort of thing. I was a little saddened that Amanda just gave in to the request, because the way Daytak phrased it is, would you rather have me die quickly or suffer and die slowly? And Amanda I would have loved it if Amanda had turned around and said, I want you to die quickly. We're going to hang you. But no, she it was kind of cliche that she just kind of bit into that and accepted his proposal. So yeah, it was a bit of setup, but there were really great moments like you talked about, Wendy, and I can't wait to look. The one Indogene, that they injected and made him look like a human. I got the impression they were trying to make us realize that this was a human we've seen before, but I don't remember ever seeing him before. But the previews kind of give away what they're doing, which is what I predicted. when it happened, which is he was going to infiltrate, Nolan's ranks because he looks like a human. I mean, why else would one of the Lieutenants Collective want to look like a human? The only reason was to infiltrate the ranks, and it looks like that's what he's going to do. So they're going to attack from the inside, as it were.
I mean, I did enjoy the episode, but I didn't think it was one of the stronger ones from the season. And you two kind of mentioned lots of good moments and great interactions, but it is setting up the next big thing as to what's going to happen with the VC now having tunneled in to the town. And Daytak, as you said, it's Daytak being Daytak. He's going to try to, pull anything that he can if they're sentenced to death. So at least, like you said, this way, he knows they're coming, and maybe this is his chance to, in a massive battle or something, get away. Although it looks like, again, based on what we saw, that they're going to do it from the inside. So how much of a knockdown drag-out it'll be right away, we'll have to wait to see. But no, it was good. I mean, Ian Ziering was just fun. I don't think we've seen him before, Wendy. I think this is the first time he's been on the show, but fun to see him here. And as you said, it was a good interaction with Berlin on that. I don't know. I was a little disappointed in the scene where Berlin told Amanda that she was leaving. I don't know. I just expected a little more fireworks other than trying to guilt her to not do it and her just kind of saying she was going to do it. I don't know. I thought Berlin had more commitment. She seemed a little too easily giving up on the town. But, maybe we'll see a little more play out on that. I suspect she'll still do something to show that she is committed to it. But I don't know. I just somehow that felt a little weird. That just seemed way too easy. That he shows up and, the reason was because my mother tried to outthink both of us. Oh, okay, I love you. Screw the town, I'm out of here. I don't know, that was a little unusual.
I'm assuming that something terrible is going to happen and she's going to reconsider before they drive out of town, and it's going to end up killing both of them or something. Because to me, Berlin is a character that they could kill off, and people... It would be a fitting storyline for the character in terms of she's been sort of a tragic character, and she's also not one that fans will revolt if she's killed. Whereas, if they kill Stama, I think there'd be a big fan outcry, for instance. So, yeah, there was a lot of good stuff in this. I do agree. I'm glad you mentioned the Indogene guy and what they're doing, because I really was sort of wondering, I was like, are they part of the same collective or are they another faction, and what are they doing? So thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, he was the right-hand guy of the leader. Kevin, what you're saying about Berlin, though, the Berlin story worked for me because especially her explanation, where she said, she was kind of rudderless until the military gave her a home and gave her direction, and then she lost the military, and now she looked for direction here at Defiance. I don't think she was ever loyal to Defiance. Defiance was giving her, 3 squares and a purpose, and that's why she was here, and that's why she stayed, and that's why she adopted the lawkeeper position and worked with Defiance and to defend Defiance, because it was something that gave her something to do. But when she came across somebody that she actually did love and found out, no, he didn't leave her, and he does still
supposedly.
love her. Yeah, well, supposedly he didn't leave her, and he does still love her, which she believes. It doesn't surprise me at all that she would go to leave this adopted thing that she fell into called Defiance, that was just happened to be there and was a way for her to have a purpose, to go to something that she wanted more, which was the love of this guy and to be with him and have the purpose of, being with him and doing things with him. So it worked for me. I wasn't disappointed. I love the scene, though, where she's giving the badge back to Nolan, and Nolan twice just states, Defiance thanks you for your service, and she tries to, kind of apologize, and he says, Defiance thanks you for your service. It's like, get the hell out of here, he didn't want to. You could see it boiling under the surface, but he didn't want to give her the benefit of him losing it, and he was just like, thank you for your service, goodbye.
And I can totally see him doing that. That is him. That is very much him. You're not on my side. You're not committed to me. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. But I just expected Amanda to be a little more, what are you, effing crazy? I mean, this guy says this. He could be lying. I don't know. It just, I don't know. Just doesn't sit with me.
Well, to me, I never felt any real connection between Amanda and Berlin beyond their jobs, right? Amanda was almost trying to play it like, you owe me, that they have some personal connection. And I didn't ever feel like they had much of a personal connection.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't seeing it as a personal connection other than her as the leader, so to speak, of, hey, you can't do this to the town. And I just expected a little more animation out of her rather than trying to talk her oh, well, you haven't seen him in so long. We don't know if he's saying the truth. I'm like, she knows that. I mean, I think she needs someone to literally take her by the shoulders and shake her and say, we're going to get ourselves killed here. You're just going to walk away. I don't know. See, it just doesn't sit with me.
Wendy's right. She'll be back. And I think there's a good chance she'll have a heroic death, but she'll be back.
Hopefully she'll help, and then they'll ride off into the sunset.
Well, that would be nice.
Because I don't want her to die.
Well, no, I don't want her to die.
I actually like the Berlin character.
Her boyfriend will die then.
Yeah.
But somebody, not everybody's going to make it out. And I'm saying I think I'm going to put a big red shirt on Berlin for next week.
I'm going to put it on her boyfriend. Stama, the question about Stama you had, Wendy?
Yeah, what was that whole thing? Why would you show her what you're doing?
Why are you so sure it's a vision? I was getting the impression that Stama was actually there.
That she was transported away to their
like
ship?
It's a way to transport somebody or something. I don't know. I mean, she might be just getting a vision. She might have transferred her consciousness there and her body's still there. So I don't know what's going on. We'll find out. But it was definitely a freaky ending. And that daughter, she doesn't just want to kill Stama. She wants to eat Stama.
Yeah, that daughter's crazy.
She'd be crazy.
Yeah, that girl is cray-cray. So the other show I wanted to briefly talk about was Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. This is episode 5, or the one where Arabella is really dead. I have to admit, because we had seen Jonathan resurrect Lady Pole, albeit with some very bad consequences for Lady Pole, that I was expecting him to be able to resurrect her, and I loved that he so far has been unable to do that. It was really well played by the character. He's practically insane by his grief and really irrational. And I liked the twist that part of the reason why Mr. Norrell, who's just flat out jealous of Jonathan, is saying, he's not going to help him and he wants to discredit his book, is all to protect the realm, because Jonathan is referencing the Raven King, and in the past the Raven King was part of revolt and revolution, and Mr. Norrell's pitching it like, well, he's going to be threatening the monarchy. So that stuff really worked for me in terms of changes to the storyline. And I also liked how the two guys in the north who had been mostly discredited as magicians are the ones who are starting to figure out how to help Lady Pole and are starting to interpret these things she's saying that seem incoherent as these fairy tales, and they're starting to sort of figure out how to decode what she's saying. So I like that progress in the story as well. Plus, very cool special effects when Jonathan had to go back to the war again, and at Waterloo, where he's turning the mud into these giant hands, and he's just they're overrun, and he's unable to really help a lot of his men. I thought that was really well dramatized.
Yeah, that was good stuff, and the advancement of Lady Pole is good. But I think you missed a very important plot point, Wendy. His wife isn't really dead. That was the pod person that they hatched in the marsh to pretend to be his wife. They had kidnapped his wife, and they put this pod person in her place. And that pod person died. Part of the programming, I guess, the magic was that the life would only last so long. But he was never able to really communicate with her. She fell ill, and then she died. But he thinks she's dead, but she's not. She was kidnapped. She was taken away to some fairy place, but she's still alive.
Oh, see, I was thinking she was really dead. I wasn't realizing that they had switched her.
Yeah. We even saw the pod person walking aimlessly down the road at one point, and one of the people who knew the wife said, called out her name, and she just wasn't. It was oblivious.
Well, yeah, and I thought that was because she was, in some other state, not that she wasn't her.
Yeah, two different physical entities we saw.
Oh, well, I guess they made them look enough alike that I thought she was the wife. Okay, so it's the actress. All right, so that's why I was confused.
Right.
Because I assumed she was dead.
Nope.
Or at least dead for now, and if resurrected, would come back horribly messed up like Lady Pole.
Yeah.
But the next time he tries to rescue her, she'll be the real wife. So
that was
cool.
That was why it was kind of funny when he was begging Norrell, or said, why didn't you resurrect her? I'm like, you probably didn't want him to resurrect that. That wasn't your wife.
Yeah.
Glad you folks are enjoying it.
Yeah, this is a show I don't know that you would like, Kevin. I don't know how much you like sort of witchy, magic-y stuff.
It's that slow British stuff, too. Slow character development. He doesn't like those shows.
Well, this is truly slower. I mean, this is a slow British show. Much more so than Humans, certainly. The other couple things I wanted to mention was the Game of Thrones bonus podcast that I've been doing with the Small Council. We have another one to record, but we're looking for sort of feedback, a final round of feedback and comments and questions from folks, and then we're probably going to wrap things up. Although we have been talking about rewatching season 1 together because we just can't stop talking about the show. But I'm going to put up a blog post about that to encourage folks if they have final questions for a last bit of fun for Game of Thrones.
Cool. You guys do have a lot of fun, and it's enjoyable to listen to you guys. You are, however, screwing with my schedule because I had planned out the year thinking that we would only have 10 episodes or 12 episodes of your show, and it looks like it's going all year round now, so yay.
No, it's not. We are going to take a break. I'm pretty sure we're going to take a break after the next 2, although, of course, we will have a pregame, preseason show, and probably one where we talk about the DVDs whenever the bonus features come out.
So all year round. Got it.
Yep.
Well, we're going to take a little hiatus.
For a week. Yeah. Okay.
Teeny one.
Tiny, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted to mention, and I didn't put this in the main show because it's another X-Files teaser, but it's one that folks who loved the show will recognize immediately as something very iconic from Mulder's office. That's a lot of fun to see. But these teasers, I can only think that they've got 1 or 2 more, and then we need a full proper trailer soon.
It's funny seeing the X-Files fans' reaction to this stuff. I kind of rolled my eyes at it. I just can imagine some parody sites are going to have a great fun because they can do a parody where, like, that's Mulder's eyeglasses from that he wore in that one episode from oh my God, that's Mulder's left shoe. Oh my God, that's Scully's dress that she wore.
Yeah, it's just they're milking the teaser thing a bit too much at this point. I mean, we're still 5 months away, so it's not like it's coming out next month. But yeah, I'm kind of, these things are coming out, and I'm waiting to hear from people who go, yes, that was good. There's new stuff, or hey, look, there was like 6 milliseconds of new stuff.
Yeah, it's barely a second. I do agree. The other thing I wanted to mention is that apparently the showrunners for Arrow are trying to work with the CW and the WB and everybody who's involved at NBC to bring the Constantine character over onto Arrow, and they're actively working on that. It hasn't panned out quite yet, but we might be seeing Constantine and the actor from the show actually appear on Arrow sometime.
That would be cool. At least it's across the television universe, so it's probably the same DC branch that's involved in both. However, as you pointed out, it's probably completely different production companies, definitely different networks. So getting NBC to agree to this, who knows? That's Universal, and you've got WB and DC on the other side. So, I don't know.
I mean, for those of us who really enjoyed Constantine and were sad to see it go, I think it's a great thing if we can actually make it happen. That, with Matt Ryan in there or whatever, that would just be awesome.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool to see him mix it up in that universe. And, I'd heard Stephen Amell talk about this, but now Mark Guggenheim's talking about it. So they're seriously trying. So keep the fingers crossed on that. Also, keep your fingers crossed. There's an interesting article with Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who's currently on Extant in a major character role, talking about how he expects to come back to Supernatural at some point, and really wants to come back to Supernatural as, Papa Winchester at some point. But he also expects to come back in an episode that is directed by Jensen Ackles, which he only gets to do 1 a season. So that means he's only going to be in for 1 episode, maybe. But apparently it's not for lack of interest on his part. And he says that he's, very good friends with both the actors, Jared and Jensen, and is constantly talking about trying to bring him back to Supernatural, which I would love if they did that.
Yeah, it'd be great. I think I heard that they're thinking of putting him in an episode in season 18. Is that right?
You got to reserve it now. I mean, he's such an iconic character in that universe, but my God, we're up to 10 plus seasons and the guy's doing so many movies and other things. It's probably wishful thinking, but hey, come on, it'd be a lot of fun if we get to see him back.
Well, I don't think it is wishful thinking because a lot of the stuff he's doing right now, he's in this guest arc on Extant. He booked a guest arc on The Good Wife, but I bet, that they'll make it work somehow, especially, if in season 11 or 12, they finally start to wrap this baby up, which I have to imagine they will. I have to imagine they will. But
yeah, weren't we saying that like 5 years ago?
You keep imagining that, Wendy.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's really going to depend on the two actors. If they realize their
fan
careers
base
are
is
passing,
as nuts and rabid as ever, man.
Yeah, but their careers are passing them by if they don't get off the show relatively soon.
Oh, it could easily become the Castiel and Crowley show. What are you talking about? Those two don't need to be there.
Oh, are you joking?
No, but
no,
yes,
I'm talking about to the insane rabid fans. The show is only about Jared and Jensen and their characters.
Right.
Yep. They're the ones who cringe, Brent. Every time you talk about not liking them sitting on the bumper talking, they want to have 42 minutes of that.
There needs to be more crying.
I think half of them also want them to start making out. So,
Let's not even get into that part. But anyway, so that's going to wrap it up for me. Keep thinking wishful, positive thoughts for a Constantine crossover to Arrow and Bad Daddy Winchester to show up soon. And with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank everyone for listening and thank Brent and Kevin for a lot of fun. We'll see you again soon.
Catch you next time.
Take care, gang.
If you'd like to contact Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, we offer a variety of feedback options, including email at feedback@tuningintoscifitv.com, voicemail at 206-202-4182, Skype voicemail at Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, or you can visit our blog and forums at tuningintoscifitv.com. And finally, you can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/tuningintosci-fi or at Facebook by following the link on our website. Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV was hosted by Kevin Batchelder, Wendy Hembrock, and Brent Barrett. The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle. Used with permission. Listen to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV on Stitcher Radio on Demand. Download the free app today at Stitcher.com. You've been listening to the Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV Last Call for episode 345, recorded July 18th, 2015.